Hey guys, it's Danny. Welcome back to another video. It's 2020. Woo! New year, new me, new books. No, I don't know. That was so lame. But today I'm going to be showing you guys all the books that I read in 2019. I'm just gonna say right off the bat, this is by far my worst reading year ever. Last year I read like around 10 to 12, 13 books, and the goal was 20 books, so I didn't reach that goal. So I decided this year I'd lower the goal, but instead it looks like I didn't even finish the 10 book mark. The year before that, the goal was 50 books and I only read 23 books. So I feel like the older I get, the more sloppier and bad my reading habit, my reading goal is. So but even though I read only 8 books, I still did enjoy a lot of the books that I read. I think all of those 8 books I really like. Like in this haul, I don't have a 3-star book. All of them are either 4 stars or 5 stars, which is actually pretty good. So at least I spent my time reading good books. So without further ado, I'm just gonna show you guys the books that I read in this 2019. So I started off this year pretty strong, surprisingly. The first book that I read in 2019 is Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. It is the 3rd book in the Dark Artifices series. I think it's the 3rd series in the Shadowhunters World Chronicles, yada yada. I started off with a heavy book. I mean, look at it. This is like around 900 pages. The first book that I read was really heavy, but I enjoyed every minute of it. I love this trilogy. I love this series. I love fantasy. I love Cassandra Clare. I love the Mortal Instruments, the Shadowhunter world. So it was a good reading start for me. I think I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars because the ending was so good. The ending was kind of like also an opening or like a teaser for her next series, which is The Last Hour or The Wicked Powers. I forgot, one of those. But yeah, I definitely started strong and I absolutely love this book. The next books that I'm gonna show you are actually like in a series, which is the first one is The Trials of Apollo, The Hidden Oracle, the first book, and also the second one is Trials of Apollo, the second book, which is The Dark Prophecy. The first book was actually a reread for me. I read this around like 2-3 years ago and I remembered loving it. It was so funny. It's also fantasy, so it's kind of the continuity of Heroes of Olympus. So I reread this book again just to get like the memory back, because it's been quite some time since I read this. And then afterwards I instantly picked up the second book because once again I loved the first book. The second book follows right after the story and I really enjoyed it. And I need to pick up the 3rd book, but I don't have it right now, so I'm scared I'm gonna forget about it again and I have to read the entire series. But it's really good books. I think I gave the first book like maybe 4 out of 5 stars. Second one maybe 4 or not, yeah, 4 out of 5 stars too. I enjoyed them. It wasn't like super like mind-blowing, but I had a fun time. Rick Riordan's writing is really light, really funny, so I really enjoyed them. The next book that I'm going to be showing you guys is actually something that has been long due waited. I was supposed to read it like 2 years ago, but I didn't read it. I don't know why. It's weird because I actually love the trilogy. It's Always and Forever Lara Jean by Jenny Han. Everybody knows this book by now because of the popular movie To All the Boys I've Loved Before. You know, it's become a Netflix. Noah Centineo, Lana Kondo. Because of the movie also, it reminded me how much I love the book, and like I haven't read the last 3rd book. Loved it. I think I gave it 4. It wasn't like mind-blowing, but it was such a good and satisfying ending to a beautiful trilogy that I loved since high school. I'm not a big fan of contemporary romance. I'm more of a fantasy romance. I love everything fantasy. I'm not really a fan of a contemporary, especially contemporary romance. The fact that she made like letters for all of her ex-lovers or like all the guys that she had liked before. She put them in a box. That's how she kind of moves on and copes with her broken heart. For me, that was actually a selling point because it was interesting and a little bit different, so I decided to read it and it was actually really good. If you're not a big contemporary romance fan but you're still open to it, I definitely recommend you like the first book, which is To All the Boys I've Loved Before, and I think you're gonna like it. Okay, the last 4 books that I have to show you guys are actually part of an entire series.
Because I was so happy I was able to finish an entire series this year, because that was one of my biggest goals. Like last year when I wanted to like be able to finish an entire series that I had been putting off, and I'm so excited and happy I finished it.
Stop babbling, Danny.
Show them the fucking book.
It is the Court of Thorns and Roses series, because it's gonna be more than 3 books and 4 books. I'm so happy I read this. I really love it. I'm gonna put them down. They're kind of heavy. So fun fact, I've actually read the first book like a couple of years ago and I remember loving it, but not that much. I don't know why. I just like, oh, it's a nice fantasy book, but I didn't pick it up afterwards. I didn't pick up the second book because I wasn't that intrigued or interested on like getting it. I don't know why actually, but then I decided to reread it again because a lot of people are raving about the 3rd book and then the 2nd and 3rd book and then like the small novella and then like the possible of it becoming a series. I really wanted to know because it's one of the most hyped high fantasy novels out there. So I decided to give this another go, and surprisingly I loved it even more the second time reading, which is why I'm such a big believer on giving it a second chance when you read something, because I feel like it's possible, because this book is a little bit on the mature side. The first book is still safe. The second and 3rd book, oh honey, there's a lot of sex scenes. But the first book does have like more of a dark, mature tone in the sense that it's more graphic, like blood, gore, yada yada. And I guess maybe when I first read it I wasn't that into it. Maybe I was still into the young fantasy like like save kind of stories. The second time reading it, I loved it so much. I instantly picked up the second and third book. Like I bought them at the same time. The second book, which I also read this right after I read the first one. Look at how big this is. This is a hardcover. I got it on a really good bargain sale, so thank God. And I love the second book so much. But then afterwards, I instantly pick up the third book, Court of Wings and Words, and finished it in like 3, 4, 5 days. I love this conclusion so much because it's not a conclusion. Sarah J Maas is gonna make it into a series, which I just found out because, you know, I'm late to the bandwagon. I love the characters so much. I love how she made me fall in love with each and every one of them. There are still like loose strings that Sarah J Maas can make into much more bigger stories, which I'm really excited to read about. And the last book that I read is part of the series just now. So this novella, I loved it so much. This is honestly, when I read this, feels like more of a fan fiction, which I actually really like because it explains more about the aftermath of the war and what the aftermath of the third book. There was like a big war. Characters, how they are dealing with the, you know, when you go to war, it's not like a happy positive thing, right? I finished this so fast. This is the fastest book I've read. I've read other novellas, but this is the fastest book I've ever read. I enjoyed it so much. I didn't give it a 5-star because it wasn't so like kick-ass like the third or second book of the series. It's more of like I said, a fan fiction, like a continuity of the previous book, and I get to know more about the characters and the city that they're living. So I'm really happy. I give it a 4 or 5 stars. It was amazing. By far, I did not have the best reading goal because I only read 8 books. They were really good. I'm really happy I spent, even though 8 books, but like still I enjoyed every one of them. But yeah, that is all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this random book nerd side of me because I really like all the books that I read, and I really wanted to show you guys what I read, even though there were only 8 books. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe, follow my social medias down below, and also don't forget to press the bell notification so you guys get notified every time I upload new videos, and also recommend me down below what books I should read in 2020 and also what videos you want me to do. And I'll see you next time on my next video. Bye.